hot. Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 39 of our Supersize You annual challenge. Today and all this week, we're talking about confidence in action. I like this month in this section because there's 28 days in the month, which you may be listening to this at a future date. I hope that you are. Well, I hope you're with me live, but I hope that you are listening to it in a future date as well. But we can have 4 weeks of 7 days each, with a total of 28 days. I guess I can do that in any month, but then I have extra days that I can fill in with other things and other topics, which is generally what I do. So confidence in action is the theme for this week. So for 7 days, we're going to talk about different subjects with respect to that. And today's is decision-making confidence. Now, I don't know about you. I like to think I'm a great decision maker and that I'm confident in my decisions, but there are certain areas and aspects in my life, just like in businesses and relationships and everything, where I don't make a decision. I, have stayed in relationships for decades too long. I have made bad decisions and then just kept running down that road head first as quickly as I possibly could, only to find out that I was further down the road when I had to turn around and go back and start over at the beginning again for different things, different areas and aspects of my life for that too. So, but I did learn that it was better to make a decision and start down that road, because all of the lessons I learned on the way have become fuel for my desires and fuel for and motivation for my other projects, right? I don't think that any lesson, no matter how bad and how painful it is ever wasted if I look at it and I say, okay, that didn't turn out the way I thought it would. But what can I take away from this? Number one, so I don't ever make that type decision again. And I'll go back and I'll actually now unravel some of those things. I didn't used to. I used to just be running through my life, which was in and of itself not the best decision. But now I'll catch myself and I'll be like, okay, is this really the direction I want to go? And is this in alignment with my vision, my purpose, my mission, my values? Individually, does this match my core values? And if it doesn't, now it is an easy, quick decision because it's an automatic no. If it does, it's do I have the time and resources available and the bandwidth in my physical brain and psyche and body to actually make this thing happen? Or do I put it aside as something to do when the timing feels a little more okay for me? Because sometimes we have a tendency to take on too many things and too many projects, and then we get frustrated because we don't feel like we're making progress in them, when the truth is we're making a lot of progress. So indecision erodes our confidence. Think about in the past where you've procrastinated or waited or made excuses or blamed or just plain refused to decide or make a decision. I think about it every time I go out to lunch or dinner with my sisters. Everybody's in the car. We're on our way, but we don't know where we're going yet because we haven't made a decision. And everybody will try to pass it off onto somebody else. And the cool thing about me is I don't care where we eat. I just like spending time with my family. And so it doesn't matter to me where we go and what we eat or what type of food. Because I learned a long time ago, I can find something to eat that feels right for me anywhere we go. It's been a long time since I went somewhere and said, there's nothing on this menu I'm eating. However, after my sudden cardiac arrest, I did used to say that because we'd go to a place, it was all fried food. And I'm like, I'm not eating any of this. So then I would go home and have a salad. But I still got to spend time with my amazing family. So indecision, even if we make the wrong decision, and I've learned this time and time again, that even if I make the wrong decision, I'm better off making a decision and starting to take action in order to support my confidence and belief in myself. Really, confidence is just how much do we trust ourselves and believe in ourselves? And if we don't trust ourselves and believe in ourselves, who else is going to? Very few people, or people that will choose to use our vulnerability against us and manipulate us. At least that's been my experience. Most decisions are reversible. I can't think of very many decisions that I've made that weren't reversible, yet at the time I made them and right after, as soon as I knew I made a mistake, I felt like they were not reversible. I joined a couple of coaching programs that I thought and were sold as something that would be perfect for me, and they were just not what they purported to be. So instead of just stopping, of course, I went through the program and just got more frustrated as I went through it because it was definitely not aligned with what I wanted to create and who I was and how I wanted to show up in the world. But most decisions, almost every decision we can get out of. I mean, even marriage we can get out of, right? And that's supposedly a lifelong commitment. For some of us it is, for other people not so much. I have a friend whose dad was married 9 times. I have an aunt who was married 5 or 6 times. I have a cousin who's married 3 times. I'm like, I don't even know how you could do it more than once after what all you've been through. I think it's like, I need more trauma and drama in my life. And then have a decision-making framework. If you don't have one, ask in the comments below and we will chat for 5 minutes. I guarantee you'll have a decision-making framework by the time we're done chatting. That's how important it is. You have to have, and I actually have a book full of them, a notebook full of them that I share usually throughout the challenge, the annual challenge, so that you've got an arsenal in your toolbox of decision-making processes or frameworks or procedures, whatever you want to call them. Framework seems to be the most popular term right now for that. I don't know. All my decades in corporate America and in business have been, hey, we need a process for this. We need to document this process so we can train other people and improve it and continually improve it along the way. So there's that. So what are we going to do today? We're going to keep it simple. I want you to make one decision today that you've been putting off. It doesn't have to be a giant decision, one little decision. I mean, don't go out and quit your day job if you're running a business and or building a business and running a day job. Don't go file for divorce or anything crazy like that. Make a decision, but practice making little decisions today. Do I want coffee or do I want water? That's a decision. But if you just automatically make a quick decision, that will help you to make better, faster, easier decisions in other areas, more complicated areas. But I love having a decision-making framework and tools that I use to help me make decisions faster. I use the SOAP framework. We're going to start that tomorrow. I'm like, okay, I got to build the SOAP framework and the super framework into the other content that I've created for this month. And so February is, or the second month, the first month that we dive into a life framework area is always my kind of trial and error month. Where do I want to put this tool? Where do I want to put that tool? So I've got at least a dozen tools. I want to make sure that you learn and experience for each of the different areas and aspects of our life. Why? Because they've been so powerful in helping me. You know, I think I'm not where I want to be, right? We're always continually improving. But I also think, where the hell would I be if I wasn't doing these things, if I wasn't doing the daily challenge? So when people give me a hard time, usually family members and friends, oh, you're still doing your annual challenge? I'm like, yeah. But then my family didn't think I could get through the first one after my sudden cardiac arrest. So more power to me, right? Let's go. So we're going to just make one decision today. Then I would like you to think about one person you know that is just an incredible decision maker and you admire them for being a great decision maker, and either message them. I'd say message them because that's so powerful, and tell them that you admire them because they're such an incredible decision maker and why, and give them an example of that. Be specific. The more specific we are, and maybe it's like, hey, we were at this event and I saw you do this and help other people make decisions, whatever it is. Or maybe it's in your friend group or your family. Maybe it's somebody in your family that's great. My dad was an incredible decision maker. He passed away 10 years ago now, but he had frameworks that he used. And a lot of my frameworks that I use are lessons and things and tools and strategies I actually learned from my dad when I was a kid and as a teenager and into college, because I admired how he could make decisions and choices and get involved in things and stretch his comfort zone. Man, that man jumped out of his comfort zone every day, I think. Also, I don't know if you're journaling or not yet. I have my handy dandy annual challenge journal, and I write out, you can see, I do some preparation, some days less, some days more. I had the granddaughters, so I didn't do it on Saturday, but on day 38. But on day 39, I map it all out so I know what I'm going to talk about. And usually it's just the night before as I'm sitting in my bed, getting ready for bed, doing my morning or my bedtime routine and saying, okay, this is the topic. This is what we're talking about. What are some key points I want to make sure I hit on? And what are some questions that I ask myself in order to get better at whatever it is we're talking about? In this case, decision making. So for example, what decision have you been avoiding? And that one immediately popped into my head because I know I've been avoiding it, right? And that's some things about my school community, my Supersize school community. And then what is the real fear behind that? My real fear behind that is I'm going to make a mistake. I'm going to pick the wrong thing. I'm going to have to start over again, right? But if I think back to all the times I started over in my life, it always goes better the second or third time around than it did when I first started to do something or launch something or try to create something. Think of a time you made a wrong decision, but it still turned out good. I will give an example, a very personal example. I married the wrong person for me, definitely, absolutely, positively. And I knew it on my wedding day, and I didn't back out then because I had a couple hundred people in the church waiting for me. And I thought that the embarrassment of that would have been worse than going through the next 25 years of my life. And I was right in some ways because I have two amazingly beautiful, fantastic children because of that. But I was wrong in a whole lot of ways because it caused irreparable damage to my beautiful children and me, which we'll all survive because we're good people and we know how to get through it. All right. And then finally, what is possible if I trust myself and decide I'm an awesome decision maker? I make fast, great decisions. They're always reversible. If I make a mistake, I learn from it and I change as soon as I notice that I've made the mistake. That's it. That's all I've got on this today. I could talk for probably a whole workshop or a whole 5-day seminar on the topic of decision making, the power of it, and how that impacts all the areas and aspects of our life, not just our confidence. But confidence is what we're working on. It's a foundational skill, and I think it's a great place to start this year. All right, any questions? Ask. If you need a decision-making framework or a tool, ask. I have lots of them, and based on your situation, I can help you to pick one that will just become automatic for you. All right, have an awesome day. Of course, be with you tomorrow.